you can go to university to not be something instead of going to university to be something. And it's Pleasure Island. The second thing is that the match between the degree and the workplace has become less and less self-evident. It's your responsibility to get educated at university, and sort of despite the university, we could say that. There are great books. You can find out what they are, and you can read them. And you know what the university does, and society, is offer you an identity for 4 years. You're a student, you're a university student, and so that's a credible identity, and it offers you a lot of freedom. And so you might say, you might have to get educated despite your courses. And you know, you think, well, that's a bad deal because the courses should be educating you. It's like, well, you got to look at it from a more realistic perspective. You can't expect the university to be a perfect institution any more than you're a perfect person. And at least it offers you an identity to shield yourself with while you're undergoing the difficult process of educating yourself. And so I would say, take responsibility for education. Find professors that you respect, who challenge you, and don't fall prey to the cynical attitude that, you know, you take the course for the grade, or that you should write what the professor wants to hear. I mean, you have to be a real corrupt professor before you'll mark a student for producing an opinion contrary to yours that's high quality. I mean, even the more corrupt professors, even in the more corrupt disciplines, I think are fairly rarely guilty of that sort of thing. So you can figure out what the great books are. You know, in half an hour you could make a list of 50 great books. I have one on my website. You could read all those. You know, that'd take about 2 years probably to really do a proper job of it. You read the great classics, scientific and literary, historical, all of that. You'll get educated, and then you'll be sharp and coherent and articulate and powerful and able to formulate arguments and able to negotiate and able to formulate problems and solve them. And I think universities facilitate it, because you can go to university to not be something instead of going to university to be something. And it's Pleasure Island. And the price you pay for it, especially in the US, is debt. And you're enticed into it because the administrators can pick your pocket. So they rob your future self while allowing you to pretend that you have an identity, right? Very nasty. And you can't declare bankruptcy with your student loans in the US. It's indentured servitude. And it's precisely Pleasure Island. It's exactly that. And so tuition fees have shot way out of control. And part of the reason that universities don't make more demands on their students and let them get away with all the things they let them get away with is because they're basically, why the hell would you chase them out? They're $100,000 or more. So they can do whatever they want as long as you get to sell them to the salt mines. So, and you know, it's not the only reason, because the other thing that's happened is that the rate of technological transformation is so fast now, and the rate of turnover of things is that it's, when I was a kid, roughly speaking, the kind of rough patch for life was probably 14 to 17, something like that. Now I think it's 18 to 25, something like that. And I think the reason for that is that all the jobs that the bloody hippies complained about being doomed to in the 1960s have now disappeared. Their problem was, oh my God, I'm going to have to work for a corporation and get a salary for the rest of my life, you know, and then I'll just end up in it with a pension, and that'll be my whole life. It's like, well, it seems like a lot better deal than an endless round of part-time Starbucks jobs. So, you know, some of it is that. There's a space now in our culture that is lacking for people to make that transformation from adolescence into adulthood. And so it's the cost of that is forestalled. It's not a good thing. Well, there's a couple of problems with the degrees, is that everyone has one. That's the first one. Because scarcity matters, obviously. The second thing is that the match between the degree and the workplace has become less and less self-evident. You know, what should happen when you go to university is you should learn how to think and formulate arguments. You should learn to think, speak, and write. That's what the humanities are for. They're to make you dangerous, right? Because if you can think and speak and write, you're deadly. In a complex job, you're exactly what's necessary. But if you don't have that, it's like, what the hell good is the degree? So, I mean, a degree in English literature doesn't prepare you for a job. It could make you think, write, and speak, which prepares you for any complex job, and that's what's supposed to happen. But increasingly, I think that doesn't happen. And the employers are waking up to this very rapidly. So, and they've already known that for most complex positions, they have to train their people. Now they're thinking, well, why do I have to bother with the degree if I'm going to train them, if it isn't bringing anything of value? You see this even in fields like law. This is what university is for. It's so that you can go into the chaos and you can pull something out of it that's truly of value, and you can incorporate that in your own personality, and that makes you much, much stronger, like literally stronger, not more educated, but it's not like you know more facts. It's that you literally are a better person, and better means you can do far more things. You can articulate that's something that's of crucial importance, is that you can articulate yourself properly, which is more useful than anything else you could possibly manage. Like if you guys come out of university capable of making coherent arguments and using language properly, you're so powerful that it's ridiculous. You can lay out a strategy and pursue it successfully. And maybe the strategy is actually oriented towards something good, something that will actually work for you and work for other people as well. And I don't really understand why people aren't told this when they come to university, is that your goal is to make yourself as articulate in writing and thinking and speaking as you possibly can, because that opens the door to everything that you'll want to do in the future, no matter what it is. The more articulate person always rises, always, because they lay out strategies more effectively. They lay out the reasons for doing something or for not doing something more particularly. They convince people, and properly so, that they can grapple with potential that lies ahead effectively, and they can defend themselves when they're challenged. And so all of that is going into the past, into the chaos of the past, you could even say, and pulling up the spirit that inhabits that from the bottom and uniting with it. When I went to do a debate at Queen's University 3 weeks ago, I think, they couldn't get anybody to debate me. You know, the guy had to play devil's advocate. We were talking about Bill C-16. I thought, Jesus, that's so pathetic. I'm talking about legal matters. And I'm in one of the greatest universities in the West. You know, I mean, it's in the top 200, let's say. I couldn't get someone to argue with this stupid psychology professor about law. I had to get a devil's advocate. And so one of the things that was really disheartening talking to the students was, they told me, 4 or 5 of them, they're not learning a damn thing in law. It's all social justice nonsense. It's like, well, good, that'll do in the profession. It's being done in anyways because lawyers are being replaced by automation. And so a lot of what they do is dig up information. It's like, well, you can do that on your own, and forms are proliferating like mad. So the law school should be teaching you to be a monster. You better be. But you come out, you're concerned with social welfare. Oh God. It's like, well, there's just nothing to that. It's like, you come out and say you want to be nice to people. Well, that's nice, good, you go right ahead. It's like, I'll go find someone who can do something, and you can go be nice to people and see how effective that is.